We read about the remains of Yosef being taken out of Egypt by Moshe. It's Posuk Yutes. V'yikach Moshe's atzmos Yosef imo. Moshe took the bones, the remains of Yosef with him. Why? Ki hishbia es b'nei Yisrael lemor. Because he adjured the b'nei Yisrael saying, Pokod yifkod Elokim eschem. God will remember you. And when he remembers you to bring about the redemption, you remove my bones with you, itchem. So I'd mentioned many times, Rashi alludes to this, and the Orach Chaim HaKodesh, that the word zeh numerically is 12. And initially, when Yosef had the issue with his brothers, all the strife, and Yosef was sent by his father to locate his brothers in Shechem. So he met a man in the field, and Rashi says, who was this person? It was Gabriel, the archangel Gabriel, and he said to Yosef, Nosu mizeh. They traveled mizeh, from this. So over there, it is explained, Zeh is 12. Meaning you're seeking out your brothers and you think the brotherhood exists. They remove themselves from the 12. The 12 doesn't exist. It's been broken. We know that Klal Yisrael is 12. You have to have that unity. Without 12, there is no Klal Yisrael. When Yosef had adjured his brothers before he passed away, he said to them, Halisem es atzmosai mizeh etchem. There's a prerequisite to the Gula. That Zeh has to be restored. If you take a look at the Midrash, Yosef said to his brothers, the reason why I'm in Egypt is because you sent me to Egypt. As you sent me to Egypt, you must take me out of Egypt. The wrong that you had done has to be corrected. Those are the words of the Midrash. Meaning, sending me to Egypt, sending me into the oblivion, you broke that zeh. When they threw him into the pit and they wanted to kill him, there wouldn't have been 12. Yehuda chose to take him out of the pit, sell him into slavery. As a result of that, although they didn't end his life, there was no longer 12. When Yosef is the viceroy and he provides all the amenities for his brothers and for the family to guarantee the Gula, the Goldos said there should be a Gula after 210 years, he says when you leave, a prerequisite to leaving, that 12 has to be fully restored. And to prove that and to indicate that, when you leave Egypt, as every tribe took the remains of their own patriarch of the tribe, Reuven took Reuven's remains, Shimon took Shimon's remains. You have to take my remains, because the obvious question is, as every tribe, their own children took their remains, Ephraim and Manasseh, they could have taken Yosef's remains. Why do you have to put this responsibility on Klal Yisrael? Ephraim and Manasseh had two tribes who could have been responsible for his removal of his remains, to take it to Eretz Yisrael. The answer is because it wasn't just the question of taking him out of Egypt. It was an issue of what? Of restoring that unity. Because unless there's that unity, there is no Klal Yisrael. Therefore, he put that burden on all of them because they all had their responsibility to correct this issue which they had brought about by breaking that unity. So it says Moshe Rabbeinu, he addressed it. Why did Moshe take it? Because the oath which they took was Halisem es Mosai mizeh etchem. The mizeh. You could have said Halisem es Mosai etchem. So, but the fact is, factually, it's difficult. As it says, Moshe was the one who attended to it. The rest of them did not attend to it. So how do they meet this criteria or this prerequisite of unifying the 12? So if you take a look in the Sforno says, the Yikach Moshe's Atzmos Yosef Imo, Biyoso Oznosi Lador. Because Moshe was the prince of the people. Kiashbe Shvia as Bnei Israel. Now take a look next Siporo. Vine Chiyuv Hador Mutal al Musio. The responsibility, the obligation of the generation. Who has to assume that? Who has to address and assume that responsibility? The leader, the Nasi. Moshe Rabbeinu was a representative of every Jew. As a result of that, although every Jew couldn't take him out. It means somebody representing every aspect of Klal Yisrael, every person, he has to take me out. It's not my children. So Moshe, being the representative of Klal Yisrael, because he was the Nasi, therefore he met that prerequisite of taking out Atzmos Yosef. That's V'yikach Moshe. That's what specifically Moshe, because he was the Nasi.
Rabbi?
Yes?
Rabbi? Could it be that, I always thought that it was that the rest of the tribes, they didn't really care to take Yosef's bones out. Could it be that everybody really wanted to take Yosef's bones out, except that Moshe was really the person who was appropriate to do that because he unified Bnei Israel. He was a leader of Bnei Israel.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm saying
you said they wanted to, but so why didn't they?
Right, because it really wasn't appropriate for them to do it. It was from Moshe to do it.
But it says he adjured the Bnei Israel. He adjured every one of his brothers. And if you take a look at Rashi, what's Hashbiya? Shbiya? Take a look at Rashi. Hishbiyam she'ashbiu livneim. He adjured them that they should have their children take the oath to guarantee. It's not enough they take the oath. They have to impose the oath that at every generation till they leave, they have to. They're bound by an oath to take them out.
Then how do we explain it from Menashe then? Why would they not have taken him out?
Because again, he did not put this burden on them. He did not put the burden on them, as I'm explaining right now. Right, otherwise, let's get back to the original question. If every tribe, their children took them out, why did he put this responsibility on Klal Yisrael? Ephraim and Manasseh would attend to that. The answer is because they have a correction. Ephraim and Manasseh don't have to make any correction. They don't have to correct a right or wrong. Klal Yisrael have to right or wrong that they had done. They broke the unity. Ephraim and Manasseh didn't break unity. They were his children. They would have.
But wouldn't they have taken him out just out of respect because it's their father?
Wait. Again, we'll get to that now. I mean, Aaron is we're talking about ordinary people. Aaron did not, right? Why did Aaron? And we're going to discuss the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't say, as the Sifara learns. The Gemara says because Moshe was Chacham Lev. The Gemara quotes a pasuk in Mishlei, Chacham Lev Yikach Mitzvos, that because Moshe had Chochmas HaLev, he had wisdom of the heart, he had this clarity to do it, and the other ones did not do it. What were the rest of them doing? They were borrowing, which was a mitzvah, borrow gold and silver vessels. I mean, if they wouldn't have had that, they would have had this level of clarity. We have to attend to the Atzmos Yosef, the remains of Yosef. But because they were preoccupied with that, they didn't focus on this. Ephraim and Manasseh were the same thing. Ephraim and Manasseh, he said, look, it's not our responsibility. If there was no one to do it, of course they would have done it. But since there was a mitzvah to borrow gold and silver, right, they felt it's going to be taken care of. So you can say either because Moshe being the leader, that's his responsibility as the Sefarno learns, or you could, but the Gemara says no. Chacham lev yikach mitzvos. It's attributing it to his chochmas halev. He had wisdom of the heart. Because he was a chocham, his understanding was greater than theirs, because he understood you can have all the gold and silver in the world, but if you don't meet that prerequisite, you're stuck in Egypt. You can't leave Egypt. Therefore, he understood the only way all this has any value, Atzmos Yosef had to be attended to. That's why he's depicted as Chacham Lev Yikach Mitzvos. That's why he's the one who attended to it, no one else. Not because he's the leader. Because he had a clarity which no one else had that level of clarity. Everybody else had the blind spot because they were busy, preoccupied with the gold and silver. Okay? So I'd said many times, it doesn't say Ezel Chocham HaMevinis HaNolad. You know, very often I give the share, I say, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand? Or do you say, do you see what I'm saying? A Chocham is more than he understands. He's Ro'es HaNolad. He sees, meaning, what's the chances if you're dealing with millions of people leaving Egypt and you have 600,000 men above the age of 20? You mean among all those people, nobody's going to attend to the removal of the remains of Yosef? It's unheard of, impossible. If you're Rosa Nola, there's nothing impossible. There's no such thing as impossible. There is a chance. It's one in what doesn't make a difference. But if factually we can't leave Egypt unless the remains of Yosef are taken, therefore I have to take care of that. So why did Moshe have that level of clarity? So that the Gemara says because he was Chacham Lev. Chacham Lev yikach mitzvos. The one who has the wisdom of the heart, he takes the mitzvos. Therefore Moshe attended to this and no one else did. Because everybody says it's impossible. You know, the Gemara tells us in Bava Basra that a communal pot is never hot, it's never cold. Why? Because everybody counts and someone else thinks if it's your pot, you'll make sure that pot is hot. But if it's a communal pot, everybody says, well, the other person says warm the pot. Therefore, it's never really the right temperature because somebody else. You know, this famous story, there's a community had exactly 10 people for a minyan, a shul. And they never ever missed a minyan because everyone knew that if anyone doesn't come, there's no minyan. 11th person moves into town, they started not to have a minyan. There'll be a minyan. Of course, there's 10 people besides me. So eventually there was no minyan because everybody was assuming someone else will make the minyan. So when you deal with 600,000 men above the age of 20 and you have a mitzvah to borrow gold and silver, it's impossible no one should take the remains of Yosef. Moshe having that clarity, he's when you see it, there's no way. You don't take any chances because you see that reality. When you see that reality, you attend to that reality. Therefore, it's V'yikach Moshe es atzmos Yosef for that reason. That's how we had explained it in the past.
Rabbi,
Yes.
I had a thought.